Hello everyone. Well, another year is here. I thought I'd get started working on some other car. So I went out and got myself a used Lincoln Navigator. And I kind of like this car. I took a train ride out to Erie, Pennsylvania, and I bought this car there and I drove it home. And it's a 2007. It's pretty nice. It's got a few flaws though. It's 10 years old. But it's a chilly, cold day out today. It's about 10 degrees out, snowing a little bit. So I'm going to hang out in the garage and get warmed up and fiddle around with this Lincoln. I think that'll be fun. So this Lincoln is, I think it's built on the Ford F-150 box frame. And it's got the 5.4 liter Triton V8 engine in it. I think it's about 300 horsepower. And this is sort of like the Ford Expedition with a bunch of luxury items added to it. Well, now these luxury items come on the Expedition as well. A little bit different trim panel and stuff, sort of a retro, early Lincoln square gauges and stuff like that. It's pretty nice. One of the features it comes with are these power fold-out running boards. I thought those are kind of cool. Of course, the ones on this used car didn't work. So I got it in the garage here and took them off and see if I can figure out how to make them work again or replace them or, do something. They're quite expensive. I've taken the old ones off here. They're painted to match the color of the vehicle. Here you can see this one's kind of worn off pretty good where the person steps all the time. There's a little painted aluminum surface. I don't know why they would do that. Obviously that's going to wear off. But these are like an extruded aluminum part. And there's a rail in the back right here, a groove with this key, 2 screw holes in this key to attach the hinge to. Here's what one of these hinges looked like when I pulled it off. That key would go in here, and there's 2 screws that come through here and attach to that key. That way this hinge could be adjusted up and down the length of the running board as required. Also interesting to note, in between the hinge plates here are some kind of rubber bumpers that the hinge bumps against when it's all the way up or all the way down. And then this would go up under the vehicle like that, with this flange mounted to the rocker panel, and the whole top part of this flange just turned into corrosion and disappeared, disintegrated. So there's 2 holes here that mount to, these are threaded holes with a bolt that comes through a flange on the rocker panel, and then there will be 2 bolts going this way into the side of the rocker panel. That's what clamps it on there. And then this would have the motor attached to it. So this top part is different. These 2 parts, this part here, are the same on the non-motorized hinge as it is on the motorized hinge. And then there would be an electric motor here that turns this gear and rotates this hinge up and down. So here's what the top part of the flange is supposed to look like. So these stopped working at some point, so the previous owner just left them kind of corroded and stuck in the up position and pulled the motors off. And this all just rusted solid in no time at all, I'm sure. This motor assembly sits right behind the front wheel, and it's not covered or protected in any way. These are the end caps that go on the end of this aluminum extrusion that we looked at. For some reason, these end caps near the front wheel were completely filled with mud. One of the end caps that's all that's left of it, so it got knocked by something and tore off of there. Just these end caps are expensive. These hinges right here, this hinge assembly is about $400. This hinge assembly comes with the motor, and that's about $1,000. And this extruded aluminum running board. I don't know. I think they might be another $400 or $600. All quite expensive. I went and I ordered a couple of running boards, complete assemblies with hinges and motors and everything. I ordered from a junkyard in Texas and had them shipped to me. So if you were interested in shopping for a running board for your vehicle, you might try going to Carparkcom, enter in the information about your vehicle, select running board, and then you can look on this list of sellers across the country. These are wreckers, they're scrap yards, junkyards that put their stuff for sale online. Here's a left-hand black one for a 2007. Looks like a complete unit. It's got a picture of it. They want $450. You pick up the phone and give them a call. Here's a picture of her right here. Looks like it's in working order. It's about the kind of condition mine was in when I got it. Looks like a good deal. Alright, so let's take a look under here. We're looking at the rear hinge right here. And here's the bolt where it's bolted to the side of the rail. I don't know if you can see, there's a little bit of a gap between the bottom flange and the flange on the rocker panel where it mounts. And I really don't want to like pinch that down tight. It could put a little angular stress on this hinge, make it bind up. Inside of each one of these holes where these pins are is a little bushing. And if it's twisted at an angle, it can grind and stress on that bushing and make it wear out prematurely. The board should go up and down with no resistance. Here we're taking a look at the front hinge that has the motor, and there's really no gap here between the flange and the rocker panel mount location right there. I'm going to knock the back one into that same shape. So we can go into the control panel here, running boards. That brought them in. That brings them out. Now they'll stay out. So that's alright. Just a couple of taps with this hammer right there, and that flange went back into place. I don't know if we can see that because of the light from the sun. I loosened the bolt and lifted the bracket out of the way so I wouldn't strike it with the hammer, and just tapped right in this flange area a few times and bent that back up. I think it was sagging down because the top half of that particular hinge was rotted away and all the weight was on this flange. But it's good now. Alright, so the driver's side door one has been tested and fitted and ready for painting up. And here is the passenger side one. And you can see it's marked from the junkyard. Looks like it's in pretty great condition. Came from Texas, so it's really no rust on that guy. Alright, I'm going to put this one in and test fit it, make sure it works. Even comes with both halves of the connector. This is good stuff, works great. Main thing about this right here, plastic safe. Alright, here we got the passenger side on. Just put one bolt on each end. Lined up much nicer than the other one because this one wasn't bent out of shape. Just want to make sure it fits and that it works. Now I'm going to sit down there and take it back off. One thing I found when I removed the running boards from this used car is underneath the running board, which covers up this area right here, there was some rust and rust holes in this rocker panel. And so what I did is I took a needle scaler. This is a needle scaler. This is what you use to take off flaky rust. Chisels, special chemicals, blah blah blah. This is what you need right here. It's called a needle scaler. You get this from Harbor Freight for fairly cheap. These steel needles come pounding out and will chip away and tap away all that flaky rust real quick. You could do a whole truck frame in about 20 minutes. You could take all the flaky rust off of it with a mechanical chisel like that. So I did that to all the loose rust, knocked it all off. I sanded it and ground on it and got it all smoothed out. And then I put a thick coat of this Rust-Oleum rusty metal primer. Well, you can't see it. It used to say rusty metal primer right underneath there. And let that dry a day. Now I'm going to get in there and I'm going to top coat it with this Rust-Oleum flat black. I really like this professional high performance. That's what it says on the label. I don't know what's professional about it, but it is excellent paint. I have stuff I've painted. It's been outside for 5 years and it still looks like I just painted it. I like this paint. I'm going to put a coat of that on this rocker panel from here all the way up into the inside where I had painted the whole thing. And you can see it from here at this low angle. Which when you stand up, you see, you can't see that area of the car. So below that tape line up underneath there will be fresh paint. Then I'll be ready to mount those running boards on there. So get started on that. Whenever I'm using this oil-based primer, I get these $2 brushes from Lowe's and then I throw them out when I'm done. I'm not bothered cleaning that stuff. You can wrap it up in plastic and save it for the next day. It'll still be soft, but much beyond that, it's really not worth trying to clean them out. So I hand sanded the hinges and the motor parts and cleaned them all off with acetone. Put a coat of self-etching primer on there. And I'll put a couple coats of black paint on there. Alright, there we go. Nice fresh wet coat of Rust-Oleum. This Rust-Oleum is good paint, but this one has like this high output tip. Yeah, I don't like this high output tip. This is all they had available at Lowe's. Okay, so now I've installed both running boards, plugged them in, and we can test them out. So that's fine. Now, I see in a couple YouTube videos people have trouble with them. They don't go up, or they go up and down. They don't want to stay up all the way. They have a little resistance built into them so that if someone's touching it, it stops. And what can happen is it can bind up if there needs a little lubrication on the hinge or something. It binds up, and then you're driving down the road and it's trying to go up and down, and it can't because it's a little bit of a resistance. That's not very much resistance, really. 1 pound. It's not very much. And also I noticed that, you know, just the front motor is what's twisting to pull the running board up, and then the back end cannot go up all the way. It can kind of hang down a little bit. This side's better than the other side. This side is down just a little bit. So I came up with a little modification. I really won't have to worry about that. It's good to keep the hinges lubricated and so forth, but I'm going to modify that just slightly. So my modification makes it go down a little bit slower, but it goes up a lot easier. And it can, even if the hinges need a little lubrication or whatever, it can still pull itself up with no problem without stopping. And the safety part, in case you get your foot in here or something, will still function. But if you find yourself having to help it up or anything like that, this modification I'm going to show you will solve that problem. What I've done is I've just installed a spring to help it get up there. On each side of the vehicle there's a part of the frame you can hook one end of the spring to, and then hook the spring underneath the running board. When it goes down, it'll stretch that spring out, and then that spring is there to help it come back up. Now, I didn't go hunting for this spring especially. I happen to have a couple of these in my junk drawer. But I'll take it off and give you some measurements in case you're interested in doing it this way. Now you could use a different spring that you have and hook it onto some other part of the frame somewhere. I wouldn't recommend hanging it to the brake line or anything, but maybe inside of that metal bracket that the parking brake goes through. Alright, so let's take a look at this spring. First we can see that the hooks are both pointing in the same direction. And it happens to have this little nylon thing to keep stuff from getting stuck in it, but it looks like that. It's not too powerful, maybe it's 5 or 10 pounds. Has 8 inches overall length. Spring part is about 3 inches. It's about 3/4 in diameter. But you can just look at the auto parts store and they'll have some generic springs kind of hanging on one of the displays there. Try a couple different ones depending on where you're going to hook it. This isn't necessary, but it came with it. I don't know what these came out of. Well, the running boards are working pretty great. And I bought some paint to pin to match the color of the car, but they're like this silver color. And they look alright for now. Maybe in the summer I'll do that. Yeah, I'll see how I feel about it. Anyways, it's all snowy and muddy and cold outside. And I'd have to unbolt them and clean up the car and clean up everything to do that job, but yeah, maybe later. I think we'll call it done for now. Take a look outside and see what kind of a day it is. And you can see the weather's pretty crummy. So it was a nice little indoor project for the weekend. Thanks for watching.